If we all listen to me, I will tell you what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to show you how to do. And then what this is I don't know if you see those little, I'd call them tulip bowls that were all there on the table. That's basically what this is. That's what this is a tulip bowl. And what I'll do is I'll show you how I cut the, and something's not going right here. Oh, that's what he's doing. I'll show you how these are cut. I'm not going to cut them because I only have so much time to do stuff. So first thing I'm going to do is okay, that's the tulip bowl. And I'll show you how to make those, and how I cut them and how I set it all up on here. But for now, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you how to do hollowing with an open face because it's so much easier to learn how to do hollowing if you can see what you're doing than wait until you got a closed thing and say, I don't know what's going on in there. So you learn how to do it on an open face first. And I got a Raleigh Monroe setup that I'm going to use to do that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to form this to make it look like this. And this is end grain, it's wet, and it's beach. And I always do this. I always pull it forward. And the reason why I pull it forward is if I get my fingers jammed in this, I'm not turning the lathe on. I'm going in the house. So it's like a safety feature. I'm just saying. What it means is like there's all kinds of people who turn, and everybody's going to have their own different way. And you can go to two symposiums. You'll be in this one here. This guy's going to. This is the only way to do it, and you're going to go in the opposite way, and this is the only way to do it. This is the only kind of truck. No, that's the only kind of truck. Until finally you start saying, do you really know what you're talking about? And ask that to Jimmy Clue. I did that to Jimmy Clue. Do you know what you're talking about? What do you think? Okay, here we go. Okay. Just want to get rid of some wood now. When I'm doing this at home, before I take it off the live sentence and flip it around, I get all the backside done here. So what I'm doing now would be done before I flip it around. So this is the bottom, that's the top. So it's easier to form it. I can almost form it all between centers, but I want it to be on the chuck to save time. So I'm just trying to develop a foot that'll be on the bottom and give me an idea where the bottom of this bowl is going to be. That's about what I want there. Now I want to get rid of some of my top here. That was a bowl gouge. Now I'm back on a spindle gouge. When I'm turning, I'm looking right here. I'm watching my form develop. And I just start taking a little bit here, a little bit there, and trying to make sure I have a nice balance. You're not supposed to do that. What I did was I made contact with the tip before I touched the bevel. If you touch the bevel, that's never going to happen. As soon as you jam the tip into a spinning piece of wood, it's going to do a trick. It's just guaranteed. So always run the bevel first, and then you can push it in. If you notice how I'm swinging my body, I'm moving my body, I'm not doing this. When you're doing this, you have so much more control over it. And once you pick your cut up, then you just let your body swing across. I was going to move this around without turning it off, and then I know Rick would have said, "Hey, you're not supposed to do that." Always turn it off before you move it, unless you're at home. Then this is a little detail gouge, and I'm just trying to get a little bit more refinement down in that bottom side here. Okay. So that's a nice shape, I think. So, wait. That tool rest is bent, isn't it? It's wicked going downhill. Did anybody ever notice that? Definitely heading that way. Now I just want to flatten this out a little bit. Get rid of some of this. Okay. And normally, what I would do was I would just use my bowl gouge to take out a whole bunch of that wood. In fact, you can make this without a hollowing tool. You can just use a bowl gouge to do that. Okay, now I'm going to get rid of this so I have a place to put my drill. And a guy named Bonnet Avery, French guy, he makes boxes with a skew. But don't laugh, he's awesome. Yeah, he's I've seen him work at symposiums at the convention we had down in Georgia. Um, he's just awesome. But he does it. He knows how to do it. And that's it. Because this is just end grain, you know. And what's a skew for? End grain. Would I do that? No. but but he's really good at it. And it was, you know, like here's an audience. I got a skew and I'm jamming it in there, and people are afraid to touch this, and he's just doing it. But he is explaining what he's doing, how he's doing it, and why he's not making a mess out of everything. So I want to go in about this deep. That's how deep I'm going to go, because I just measuring right about here. So that's where this is. That's where I want the bottom. I've got a nice pedestal, so I can go to the top side of the pedestal with the hole. And that's as deep as I'm going to go. And you don't have to be perfect, so I didn't measure it. I want to slow it down, I know that. If you really wanted to, you could use like a 2 or 3 inch portion of it, get rid of all that wood. And and then pretty soon, you don't even have to use a chisel. You can just use a portion of it and make boxes. Sounds like a duck. You see how that dust is expanding? And that's what happens when you run a drill in there and it gets jammed. All that, it just expands and it just locks itself in. This is too tall for this, so I can't use this tool rest. So I brought another one because Mark tried to do this and he said, "Oh, I can't do that." And then he had to try to tell you how it would look if you were really doing it. So I brought this one here. Oh no, if you don't have this, then you have the right size lathe. And if you have the right size lathe, you buy this to fit. I have a 25-inch swing on mine at home. So this is made for a 25-inch swing. So this is made for a 16. This is a 16 swing. So that's what this tool rest is for. But I can't. I could cut this down. In fact, Trent said, "Oh, just cut it down." And I said, "I don't want to because I really abuse the crap of that when I'm at home. You know, I just abuse it. So I want as much in my banjo as I can get." And then I said, "Well, why don't you send me one?" And he would for $25 plus shipping. And I said, "I ain't paying $25 to show you guys what to do here." And then I said, "I'll just bring this little thing." And you know, I really don't even need any of this because what I'm doing is made to do freehand. But this just shows you the whole operation. This is made for a 3/4 inch bar. This is 5/8, so I got a little reducer that I can put in here. And it works just fine. And when you're locking that down, you want to make sure was a little hole in that piece of aluminum sleeve. You want to make sure the set screw goes through that hole and it doesn't hit the body itself, because then you're just going to make a mess and it's not going to work right. Now, I want to be about a 16th to an 1/8 inch above center is what I want. Oh, I should have explained it to you. It's a carbide. It's a Raleigh Monroe. In fact, this will tell you all about it. I just bought it, and the nice thing about doing demos is it forces you to learn how to use the tool before you come here. And I was having a hard trial. I was just really having a difficult time doing this until finally I kept calling the company that I bought it from and said, "What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong?" And I explained, and then he would tell me what I was doing wrong. And then I would correct it. So hopefully I get nice ribbons off of this thing. I want this to slide across there. I don't want it to be jamming across tight, so right now that feels pretty good. And then it's a little articulating arm. So this front, there's two pieces here, so there's actually three parts. So this will move, and then the front moves. So it'll move around. And there's a third piece here. So if I want to get a nice undercut on a vase or what have you, you know, I can actually turn that and do some nice work with it. But the nice thing is this is the finish. I did this morning, and I did not sand that inside. And that's the finish you get off of this, which I think is pretty good. And if you're doing hollowing, this is probably the ideal height for doing hollowing, because you're not like doing this. Because if you got it at the right height, then it's way down low. But now it's like, oh, look at that. I think I read that this morning too, and probably in that brochure I'm sending around. Okay, let's start this out. Let's put this down. Okay. And then the cover that's in the front of that, it's a little shield. I can open that and close it, so I can either take a lot more off or a little bit, you know, so I can move that in and out off that cut a bit. And what I'm doing now is I just want to get rid of the mass of wood in the middle, because we don't need that right now. Oh, okay. Normally, what I would do is I would use my detail gouge and my bowl gouge to develop this, because it's a lot easier. Um, but I would develop my thickness. The wall thickness starts right here, and so I would get this done before I set this all up. But what I can do now is I'm showing you that you can do all of this with this tool. You can't do it all the first time, because the first time you're going to make a mess. And I know that because I made a mess. But I called up and I said, hey, why am I making a mess? I didn't say the tool is no good. I blamed it on me. There is a bit of a learning curve. There, I'm almost at the bottom, so we're going to live at that. See, I'm not putting any pressure, down pressure here, because this takes it all. The only thing I'm doing is swinging the arm. The area this thing is supposed to be cutting on is right on the nose. So I left it straight, so I was going in straight. Now I want to start going towards the wall, and now I'm going to bring this over a little bit. I just moved it a little bit so that way I can start going in. And now this is my wall thickness, and now I can start working off of that, and I can start developing that corner right there. And now I want to take nice little cuts. And what I'm doing is, when I'm turning, I'm looking at the outside of my vessel. You know, I'm not watching too much of what's going on the inside. I'm watching my outside, because somehow or other our minds are able to tell us where that tip is on the inside. I'm not sure how that works. But supposedly the tool becomes an extension of our hand. Now, right now I'm about this deep, so this is where I want to go from here to here, so I can find that nice radius, and because I want to repeat what's outside inside, you know, so I have the same wall thickness right throughout. And what I do is I got a nice set of calipers that look like this. This will give me an idea how much wood. You know, I got a lot of wood in the middle, and then over here, that's how much wood I have at this corner. So right now I want to be careful with the corner and just take a little bit off here. I still want to reduce that some, but then start. Oh no, I'm going to finish it. Yeah. Yeah, because I'm showing you how to do it. You don't want me to come back next month. Even if I were doing it at home, I always do finish. I don't do halfway and let it dry. I just finish them because that's how I do it. And then if they crack, they crack, and if they don't, they don't. And this is end grain, so it's not going to warp. It's going to shrink like so. So I don't have to really worry about too much of that getting distorted. But no, I just want to show you all how I can. And this shield actually becomes the bevel. And that's the part that you want to ride, is the shield. That'll prevent you from going too deep. So if you're just riding that, I'm just taking a little bit off, I can just follow that without being too aggressive. No. No, I can actually look inside, because I kept saying I'm looking outside. I'm looking outside because I can't see inside anyway. But now I can actually see what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm almost. I'm almost there. I have a knot. I don't know if you noticed, but there's an. I listen as I'm turning, and you start hearing different noises. You're curious, oh, what's going on in there? But there is a knot in there, and then when I hit that knot, this tool wants to move about. So right now, my thickness is good right up to here. So I'm just going to clean up some more here. And if you don't have a TV screen or you don't have one of those little red lasers up here telling you where you are, measure all the time. You know, that's the way they used to do it before they got the screens and the lasers. So I guess what I'm saying is you don't need all that fancy stuff. It just makes it easier. See, that's pretty close. That's a nice shape. And now because I'm up about a 16th or 8th of an inch above center. When I want to do the bottom, I want to drop this down so this tool is right on center. So when I swing across the bottom, it cleans it up nice. While you're doing this, all this outside, you want to stay up high. When you go back down to the bottom, that's when you want to just be right on center. So that way you're just going to go swing across and clean that up. You have a nice. In order to do that, now I got to drop everything down a little bit. Looks like I'm right there. When you have this all set on your own lathe, it's a lot easier to make that adjustment. You know, it's just a matter of lifting this up. What I end up doing is I have a collar here. So what I'll do is I'll lift it up a 1/16 or so off that collar to do that. And now when I want to drop it back down on center, I just drop it back on the collar. So it's just an easy thing. You don't have to. And I also want to bring this back, because the front of this tool is what you want to go straight in. So I'm going to do bottom, so I don't want this to off to an angle. I want to make sure that the front of that tool is touching. Just move it a little bit. Just makes it easier. And what I'm doing now is I'm just trying to clean up from where that little angle at the end of my drill was. I'm just trying to make that, so I'm just doing that bottom so everything just flows right down to the bottom. Yeah. Don't feel too bad. Gives me an idea how deep I am. And I'm going to leave it just like that. And when you're doing the bottom, you want to be able to start from the top side of that bottom and go down, especially if it's going to be a nice hollow, because it's easier to go downhill than to try to drag it uphill, because if you're dragging it uphill, you wind up jumping into the wall. But by going down, you always got that little extra space in front of you, and it just makes it easier. But that's how this tool is used. But there's still more. So there's still more. So don't leave just yet. Because I told you I was going to show you how I do the pedals. See, this one's I already reduced that. When I turn this, I had this big chuck on here, and as soon as I take this off, if I were at home, as soon as I will turn that around and reduce it to that size. The less wood I have underneath here to dry, the easier it is to dry and the less apt it is to crack. So I just like to get that. And the only thing I do with this small tenon now is I don't turn it anymore. It's just to hold it. I have my lathe indexes, which is really nice, because then I would basically come here with my tool rest and index that, and I would do every leaf. And so what I was doing is I was making little templates like so, then I could put them here, and then I would draw my lines. And so this is 8 petals, and so I could put 8 petals on this. And the smaller it gets, the less petals you want, the bigger it is. Like that plate that's over there, that's pretty big. That's 14 inches in diameter. I got 16 petals on that. But the plate I did with the index in, it's so much easier using the index than it is to use these. Even though I laid these lines out, they're not right. You know, I'm off a little bit. You know, so if I don't, as long as I don't move it and try to repeat the lines, it's fine. You know, it's close enough. They're petals. It's a flower. No flower petal is the same anyway. You don't want them to be identical. But that's basically how I do it. Then I'll do that. I'll put the marks down. You know, so I'll end up just dropping my marks like so. And then I come down and I find out where the middle of this is, and I'll put it over here. I'll also have this back on my lathe, and I'll spin that line like an inch and a quarter from the top to the bottom, and that gives me how high my pedal's going to be, which is what I have here. So I actually traced the line right here, so I knew that this was going to come here. This would be here where that little plate is, and then I ended up finding out in the middle of that, then I drop another point. And that way, when I want to draw my pedals, I know that that's going to be the center, and then I can just draw my pedal like so. And then I repeat it and walk my way around. And because this thing moves, I can do that. You know, I probably drop it down here someplace. I probably put it over here someplace. I can, you know, just really nice to do that. And then that gives me an idea what I do. And I actually use the 2-inch sanding disc that we have to give me a little idea. I'll end up putting I put 2 lines here, and I can actually use that 2-inch disc, a 3-inch disc, depending on how big the pedal is, and I can get that bottom curve, which is a nice curve. Instead of trying to do freehand, I got a nice curve all the way around, and then I just catch that to the top. Then I cut that out. I can grind it out. I can use my saw to cut it out, and then after that, it's all sanded, and then it's done. Now you can clap.